So this book is about stories that happen with these little tools, these little glass pieces containing nothing that you can measure in this reality. So how do they work? That's the question. How can these little things do that? Hence the skepticism comes in. And I can understand it. To some extent it is justified. But the thing that I will say is that today we have entered another age. You have to experience something to understand it. You cannot read about, you may read about it and then experience it. But to truly experience something, you have to have a direct experience. Because looking at these things will not tell you anything. And the interesting thing is that you can say, oh yes, they're round and they're green and it's a male frequency, and this one is pink and this was a female frequency. But the frequency that does the job, you cannot see. It is invisible. And that's doing the job. So this invisible universe, which is, if you like, we access through the zero-point field, which we access by going through the space-time barrier, lies a very potent universe. It's a parallel universe, but it is immensely powerful. And through an act of grace, we have managed access to it through the illuminator and the imaging, and now through the supercoherence frequencies. So the magic is not in the frequencies. The magic is in you, but it was locked behind closed doors, more secure than Fort Knox. So today, those are the keys to open that door. If you don't have a key, you cannot open the lock. You will break your head against a wall. But if you have the key, the same thing that was impossible 1 minute ago becomes simply easy. So what do they do? Basically, there is another very important study which is also mentioned in the book, and is called the Kaiser Permanente study. And this was done in California by this insurance company called Kaiser Permanente, where 17,000 people took part in it, plus. And it's called the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experiences. So adverse childhood experiences of a certain magnitude created illnesses decades down the line. And there was a very, very strong correlation. So unresolved emotional trauma, which resides at the unconscious and subconscious levels, cannot be easily neutralized. It's almost impossible to do. Today there are beautiful new techniques for doing so with EFT and others, what are called energy psychology. They work very well. But in this system, it is not about the meridians. It is not about the chakras. It is about a level that is beyond. And that's why you have to understand the importance of what I call the master number. And the master number is not 1 to 9, it is 0. The Indian and the Tibetan wisdom traditions have always understood this. They have understood that shunya, which is 0, is the path to self-realization. What is shunya? What happens? Can you become 0? How can you become 0? How can you, as a living person, become 0? It's not so easy, is it? But 0 is where everything gets neutral. And the frequencies that we have, which we call the SRTLFs, I'm not going to discuss the other frequencies, but other than that, the first key that came were the SRTLFs. We call them the return to love frequencies. And they work because they neutralize this information at the level where it exists. They reduce it to 0. So if the person has had a traumatic experience, that experience stays within the energy field and in cellular memory forever. And unfortunately, it has an effect. And it your life unfolds along that trajectory. To change that trajectory to something that is more nourishing and wholesome, that information has to become neutral, because otherwise the pain remains and then is expressed in ugly ways, either throwing it outside, it's called the cycle of suffering, or by taking it inside and creating havoc in the body. So there has to be a way to neutralize this information, which exists in all of us, because we are not the sum total, pardon my using the only this lifetime. We are creatures who have been there for many lifetimes and have experienced a lot of stuff. So the thing is, for the human system to get back to zero, these are the master keys, and they do things instantly. This is hard for people to understand, that something that has been there for, whatever, 40, 50 years or, 6 months back, can be neutralized immediately, because it happens at the quantum level. It happens at field level. Until you understand the reality of the energy field, you're going to break your head against the wall. That's what people are going to do, because until they understand the reality of the field.